Well delivered. Oh, yes, indeed.
Well, Dennis, tell me about your. You have an upcoming event.
Event, yes, it will be, soon. It will be 69 years since my mother birthed me in the Dunkirk, New York City Hospital.
Nice.
And about 68.99 years since she left me there, and I've never seen her since. No, that's terrible. God, I couldn't get it out of my mouth. My sainted mother.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm pushing the big 7-0, man.
Are you?
Well, 69. Good thing about that is that this is the year that it doesn't matter whether you look backwards or forwards, but the number looks exactly the same either way.
Whoa. That's like so true, man.
This is the year to find the balance, 6-9. This is the year to find the balance, 6-9.
You can flip it over, and it's like the same year, man.
And it's also one of my favorite sexual positions, so there you go.
Oh, I hadn't even considered that angle. That's interesting.
No pun intended. That angle. Very funny.
Indeed. It is an angle.
Well, so first, of course, there's some politics to talk about. There's because of Kevin McCarthy's trouble in the House and the relative smoothness of the soon-to-be minority party and electing a leader unanimously in short order and 2 lieutenants. And it's all the 80-year-olds have retired. And the Democratic House leadership are now 3 guys under the age of 55.
Wow.
Hakeem Jeffries from New York. Just a amazingly well-spoken, educated representative of us. And a couple of other folks. In the meantime, the House Republicans have such a slight majority that they had a meeting, and several of the people there said to Kevin McCarthy, the current minority leader who's running for majority leader, he had people there, so many people there who said, "There's no way that I'm voting for you, that he can't win." And he said, and it's like getting a new pope, where you keep voting and voting and voting until you get a majority.
Right.
The white smoke, the black smoke, the black smoke, the white smoke, etc. And in this,
how much smoke they smoke a lot in the Vatican.
This is a lot of smoke and mirrors, I'm afraid. What McCarthy has to put up with, imagine this. This is a guy who, after denouncing Trump on the floor of the House on January 6th, quite clearly and quite perfectly, he went to Mar-a-Lago quicker than anybody within a month, because he realized that if he wants to be Speaker of the House, then he needs MAGA Republicans. He needs deniers. He needs Marjorie Taylor Greene. He needs people like that. He's got to have these people who are dyed-in-the-wool MAGA, or he can't win the seat without them.
Right.
They are crazier than him and further right than him and worse than him. And he's so bad that he was one of the first ones that ran down there, asked Trump to pull down his pants, and then kissed his ass. This is the guy who now is more centrist than what the alt-right, which is now Breitbart and Steve Bannon and Miller and all these, far right, separate the babies from the mothers, and that'll teach them, and just nuts, that stuff. He's got to have them. And so eventually it's going to be clear that he's only 2 or 3 votes short, and they voted 3 or 4 times, let's say.
Right.
And the alt-right is going to say, okay, well, there's 2 of us willing to go your way if you will announce, starting in your first day, the impeachment of Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Merrick Garland, a list. And then it'll be up to McCarthy to try to whittle it down a bit, but that's what they're about. And in the meantime, Hakeem Jeffries, now the new leader, he has a standing ovation applause from his unanimous delegation who voted him in. Not a lot of maneuvering and readiness over the years, of course. But when he gave his first speech, he said, we're going to tackle the things that matter to the American people. We're going to fight inflation. We're going to try to get prices down. We're going to help people with their education. We're going to get to the point where we outlaw assault weapons. And he was just very clear to a standing ovation. And the Republicans are looking at 4 or 5 votes before McCarthy comes in. Maybe it'll be quicker. Maybe I'm being, ultra negative. But so that's going on right now.
So, first of all, what an unfortunate historical past with that particular surname in the Senate. But
yes, isn't that something?
So, is this related? You sent me an article that was like Democrats should nominate a Republican.
Oh no,
speaker.
it was. It's an interesting thing that the Constitution of the United States does not require that the Speaker of the House is a member of the House as an elected official. The only thing that it says is that whoever they elect is the Speaker of the House.
They can just choose some random hot dog salesman from the street.
He probably wouldn't get enough votes, but who knows?
It depends on how good the mustard is,
and how much MAGA Kool-Aid he's drank.
Right.
But yeah.
Normally, it's from within.
It's always been from within. It's never not been from within. So one of the names that the Democrats,
they could have elected you.
Yes, actually.
Fuck.
Maybe I'm not too old. How could I be? I'm not 80. That's fine.
Okay.
Anyway. So one of the names that the Democrats rose was Liz Cheney.
Right.
As the Speaker of the House with the Democratic majority, and to bring in the real conservative Republicans in this country,
right,
that are in hiding,
yes,
and mouthing the words, Trump, 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 or less so, but still,
sure,
and just biding their time until this too passes. So they're more than willing for Chris Christie, the former governor of New Jersey, who's been running for president since before he published his book, which I've seen and read and had seen many, many, many interviews with him, where it's a quite impressive book. He's a quite impressive speaker, and the Republicans say that he's like a ping pong ball, which is ridiculous. You supported Trump. You didn't support Trump. You ran against him. Then you supported Trump because he won. Then you supported him as the president. Then you voted for him the second time. And then after that, you changed your mind and said, you know what? I can't do it anymore. That's not being a ping pong. That's just moving on. Time marches forward, right?
They used to call it flip-flopping.
Well, that's ridiculous. If he made all those decisions in one day, it would be flip-flopping.
Exactly. But if you get new evidence and you change your mind,
his line in the sand is a whole lot further away from Trump than mine was, And so as those thresholds are crossed, he says, you know what, I'm done. There's a lot of people supported Trump until January 6th erupted. They're not flip-flopping. They're changing their fucking mind.
Look, I've taken off a flip-flop to draw a line in the sand. So,
did you get a burr in your foot? Who do you think you are, fucking Jimmy Buffett?
A Richard Burr? No.
There's a great novel that Michener wrote about Aaron Burr. That is a time in our history where intrigue of this nature, of which we bespeak, was in rabied evidence.
I've seen the musical, so I know all about it.
Treachery Not in the Age of Electronics.
Treachery Not in the Age of Electronics. Fuck, there's our title. Okay.
Subtitle.
Yeah.
Consider it just a suggestion. I know I send you so many ideas about editing, and you just never respond to any of them.
Right. All the
ideas. You haven't ever done an edit I recommended, have you? No, you haven't.
No, I mean, some of the more, stuff. I don't want to get you canceled, so I cut some stuff out, but
yeah, right. Right. So let's see. Let's talk about weather a minute. We did politics. I want to talk about the weather. So what you guys say,
okay,
man? How you doing?
Hey,
doing good, man.
What's up with the weather, man?
What's the first thing you say? It's fucking cold out there, man. So listen to this.
Well, hold on. I want to go first because so the weather's been okay here. It's rainy and cold and stuff. But
how cold?
How cold? Not cold to you. We've made it down to 50 Fahrenheit, which to us is like, I'm cold.
That's balmy.
I know,
My
right?
story is that last week.
But what I wanted to say was that my work colleague in Mongolia reported minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit temperatures,
Lord.
where it's just like you
80
don't,
degrees colder than where you were.
you just don't even like. What do you? Just don't go outside. The coldest I've been was in Moscow at minus maybe 15, 20. But
Yeah, mine the coldest had to be near Buffalo, where I grew up. I left Alaska one time in the winter, bitter cold, 2, 3, 4 hours of sunlight, and dressed for. I mean, you better dress for Alaska, right? You better have the biggest overcoat that you can put over a suit that you've ever worn. And I've got a beauty.
yeah,
And zippers and hoods and snaps, and I'm not
zippers
cold.
and hoods and snaps. Yes,
I'm not cold. I don't get cold. And so I went to San Diego, and it was a 50-degree drop in temperature, or improvement in temperature.
Rise, yes.
And got off the plane dressed in my Alaska garb, and was like, "Oh my God, give me to a hotel, get me to a shower."
Okay, the
All right.
Alaska to San Diego shower story.
Last week, it was in the 40s here, so I could do my gig, the railing job over on Wheaton. They have
The railing job on Wheaton.
very
Yes,
strange. The house is high up off the street, which is on a big hill.
I've seen photos that you sent,
So step, and then walk a little bit, and then another step, and then walk, and platform after platform. And on the right, the guys who poured the sidewalk, while they were doing it, they built a cinder block wall that was also built like stair steps, but they don't match the stairs. Some of them are 29 inches tall, some of them are 30, some are 34, some are 3 feet, one is 6 foot, there's no symmetry. It's like whatever they thought of. And so these folks they said, first of all, our folks are old and they're having trouble walking up here without a railing.
yeah, no shit.
They're in their they're almost 70.
Oh, ouch.
And I looked at him and I said, well, I think I can understand their problem. So I went through a couple designs. The design that I sold them on was every level part of that wall was its own railing. 2 flanges, 2 uprights, and then a railing. And you just went from cinder block to cinder block.
Yep.
So I redesigned it so that instead I realized that I could make a 45-degree angle work so that you can actually put your hand on the banister and slide it all the way up.
Nice. Hopefully in a glove because it's cold.
Yeah, it is a chilly hunk of metal. It's 1 1/4 inches round, which is about the size of a grip, which is code. And I had to drill holes in the concrete and then put a anchor screw in, which when you screw in the screw, the anchor that fits in the hole very nicely expands.
Yeah, baby, that's what anchors do.
The screw expands it until the concrete and the receiver, the sleeve, is as of one.
Hey, I did that this week too. Imagine little old me.
Glued something?
I was tasked with fixing my previous attempt. So we
A re-repair?
We moved our some bookcases to our garage, and we decided we don't need those bookcases in our house anymore. We're just going to leave them in the garage as like shelving. And the bookcases from IKEA, the famous Billy bookcase model,
pressed lumber, probably swelled up.
Yeah, well, no, it came with a. I guess it came with a solution to, because obviously when you put up a bookcase, ideally you want to like attach the top of it to the wall so it's not going to fall over on you. And it came with one of those. And I had previously attempted to do that with a too small screw into the into this concrete brick.
Without
stuff.
an anchor?
No, with an anchor, but it was too small.
Was it a plastic anchor?
It was a plastic anchor, and it had come unanchored.
Was it 2 pieces?
What?
The screw and the anchor?
Yes.
And they were separate?
Yes.
There's a better thing. I'll tell you about it in a moment. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, let me finish what I accomplished. So I found what was a really long screw and a big fat anchor that I guess was left over from the carpenters that installed the furniture on our walls and stuff, just in our house. And it was fatter than the previous anchor and screw had been. And there was also this big plastic washer, we'll say, a spacer. that would turn out to be just what I
because
needed.
you don't want the shelf leaning backwards onto the wall.
Exactly, and plus, like the ground is uneven there, and it's actually sort of leaning a little bit away from the wall.
And is this the key of what is the lumber? Is it pressed wood?
Yeah, it's
And isn't your garage wall against the earth? Isn't it moist?
It is, but there are several inches between.
And what is the wall made out of? Stone? Mortar?
I think it's brick with mortar on top, and then with this like bumpy stuff on top.
Oh, so it's fairly upgraded.
I think it's okay. And so anyway, so I went in there, and my bigger anchor did not fit in the smaller hole, so I had to go walk a block back home to get the drill and drill a bigger hole, and then put the anchor in and screwed it all in. And for now, it's better anchored, and like that's about the extent of my handiness.
So imagine that. The first of all, I will tell you an improvement over the sleeve and screw approach, and that is when you first of all, as background, when you're using the sleeve and screw approach, you drill a hole. For example, for a 5/16 screw, you drill a 1/2-inch hole because the anchor is obviously bigger than the screw.
It's better, and then the whole idea is that it expands.
You tap that anchor into that hole.
Tap that anchor,
and then when you screw the screw in, it expands and it holds.
Indeed.
The other option is this unit so imagine that the flange that holds up the railing on my what I built, the flange, which is the round that holds the pipe and is secured to the concrete, has 4 holes in it. So every time there's an upright holding up that railing, I've got a flange there that requires 4. I had an old drill.
I've seen the photo.
I had an old drill, and it took forever, and I used the anchor and sleeve approach, and then I said, fuck it. I went out and I bought a hammer drill.
Yeah.
Which is a drill that not only goes around, but it goes up and down, and so it goes through shit like concrete.
My drill has a hammer setting.
Yes, well,
it is required for what I did, because otherwise it just if I left it on just the regular
drill, it worked.
Drill, it didn't do anything. I had to put it on the hammer one,
right.
and then go.
Well, and then this other thing I found, which is better, is actually get a screw inserted into a expanding thing.
Yep.
And as you tighten it, it expands even further, and so there's a nut on the top of it, and it's one piece instead of 2. And you drill a hole that's the same size as the screw. And you pound it in, bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Instead of the other approach, which you drill a larger hole, you insert a sleeve.
Is there screwing involved here, though?
What's that?
Like later, how do you make it expand?
Later. So you drive it in now, and these fit right in the flange in the hole. So I drill the holes so that they're close to right, as close as you can be. Because when you're drilling a hole, I've got a 5/16 inch drill, which is, smaller than your finger by some. But in order to get it started, I put the flange on the concrete and draw a circle and pencil around it so it stays in one spot.
Yep.
And then I take the drill and I try to get a little drill that I have, a little tiny one.
A little wee drill.
And drill a hole right in the middle of that.
Right,
and
just to get it started.
Yes, it's a starter.
Starter hole.
And that way, when you take your larger drill, you set it on, it's going to go
exactly
where it's supposed to go. And the problem that I had, and the solution that I was too lazy to resolve, the problem I had was that often those holes were just a little off. They were crooked this way or crooked that way. Because remember, you're trying to drill down, and you've got to be level 3 different ways. To the left, to the right, and then to the earth.
6 different ways, really.
How many ways?
Like all the ways.
All the ways. All the time.
You got to have a healthy conscience about all the bad and the good you've done in the world. It's hard.
Yes, it's an allegory for life in so many ways.
Yeah.
So I would drill the holes. I put the thing in there, and these little things that were one piece, right, that you pounded in, they fit right in the holes with the flange on the top.
Yep.
Boom, 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 pounded it in. It was so much quicker, so much easier. And this is the thing. I went to the store. There wasn't anybody who said, don't do it the way you're going to do it. There's a better way.
Everyone said, you're a genius.
What's that?
no one corrected you. Everyone agreed that you were doing it.
I asked for stuff, they gave it to me. One guy worked construction for 30 years. He was my go-to guy. I'm going to go back to him. Oh, so I got into an argument.
Wait, hold on.
I got into a big argument in the store. I got to tell you. Go ahead.
No, but at what point are we doing something that is expanding the flange, as you call it, to better grip?
Oh, because you're tightening the screw. So that's
okay. So you're banging it in, and it's all one piece, and then you screw.
So listen to this. At the very bottom,
bang and then screw.
At the very bottom of this two-part contraption, which is a metal sleeve and then a screw.
You said it was one part.
Goes in it. The bottom of the screw sticks out below the metal casing, and it's bigger. It's bigger than the casing. So when you start to tighten it down, the first thing that happens is that the larger end of the screw comes up into the metal and starts to expand it.
Right.
And as you tighten your nut on the screw, which will only tighten less than 1/8 of an inch.
Okay.
The distance of the anchor, the height of the anchor part of the hardware,
right,
is something more. It's like 1/4 of an inch. So so when you tighten this down, as long as you're doing it within an eighth of an inch, you can't do it within 1/4 because it's not built that way. That knobby end, that big knobby end, pulls itself up into what you pounded in with a hammer.
Yes.
And made it even tighter. And I put a little liquid nails in it. That is when I'm thinking of it, which is good from 0 degrees to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And it affixes concrete and metal, concrete to concrete. It's all-purpose epoxy. It was a joy to work with. I broke the screws off 3 times.
Okay, my only complaint is that you chastised me for having a 2-part anchor screw situation, and then you said that your anchor was like a separate part of your thing.
It was one. So, it's a 2-part, but they're attached. So you're only handling one piece of hardware.
Okay, when you're banging it in there, yeah. Okay.
And the idea of drilling a hole larger than you need with a hammer drill, right, and then putting an anchor in it.
Yeah.
That hole, it better expand pretty well because the hole you've drilled is so big. What I love about this is that it's the same size as the screw head. So when you pound it in, as I did with a rubber mallet, all 4 holes at once, right. Boom, 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 and then each by itself, that rail don't move, man. It doesn't budge. It does not budge.
And this is a one-way operation. Like, you're never going to be able to undo what you've done.
I can undo every single thing I did.
Okay. Well,
the more difficult undoing would be the flanges and these screws we're just describing. But all of the railing is joined by a screw the size of a nickel. And that screw the size of a nickel is about twice as thick as the joint that holds these pipes together.
Right.
And when you screw that tight with a big giant Allen wrench, whoosh, 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 that screw connects to that metal and actually digs into it.
Yeah, baby.
All of which you can undo.
Excellent.
That's the genius of this invention. And I ended up Googling the company. They only make the product for one major retailer, and that's Lowe's. So I was forced. So here's the story. So as you can imagine, the railing, 4-foot piece, 6-foot piece, 10-foot piece, 3-foot piece, 4-foot piece. You buy railing in 6 or 10-foot sections. 3, 6, or 10 they come.
Ugh.
So you got to have them cut. So there's a machine there that you roll out from underneath the counter. It's this enormous metal iron machine. You put your pipe in a casing that grips it, 20-inch casing that grips it, and then you mark your spot where you're sawing it out the other end. And there's this really nifty lever that has a wheel on it that's like a metal cutting wheel. And as you pull that lever onto the pipe, which is spinning, because that gripper not only grips it, but spins it quite fast.
The wheel is spinning, or the pipe is spinning?
No, the pipe is spinning.
Ooh.
The pipe is gripped and spinning, and what you're grabbing is a lever with a wheel that does not spin, And as you apply a little pressure
Why
to
is it a
that
wheel?
lever
It doesn't spin.
that puts the wheel edge into the pipe, it slowly but surely cuts it perfectly round.
Does it? The wheel spins at some point, though, right? When you're bringing it down to cut.
Well, no, the wheel doesn't spin. If the wheel spun, it wouldn't cut.
Well, why
What's
is it
spinning is the
why
pipe.
is it a
You
fucking
don't need
wheel
two
then?
things spinning.
Look,
You don't need two fucking things spinning.
Why is it a
How
wheel?
would that work?
Why is it a wheel? I understand, but it doesn't need to be a wheel. It could be a straight edge.
Oh! It's a wheel because you can turn it when one part of it becomes dull. See?
Just sort of like our conversation here.
That it's dull. Well, it's your fault.
I mean, we might need to turn it.
Everyone knows that you're the dull one.
I'm just saying.
It
We might need to turn this wheel.
It was established in the first episode. It's a spider monkey episode.
Yeah, let's turn this wheel. Let me tell you about.
So let me tell you the story. So I go into the store, and I'm surprised that they have all these nut-driven elbows and connectors, which means that I don't have to thread the
Nut-driven elbow.
pipe and have elbows to thread. It's so much more complicated. And there's a sign that says, "We cut galvanized and black iron pipe." So I buy some galvanized pipe. And there's two different companies that sell the pipe. One sells a black pipe, one sells a galvanized with a dull finish, and another sells a galvanized with a shiny finish, which I bought. But there's two different types of galvanized, and there's one iron. And so the sign says we cut black iron and galvanized. And I say to the dude, "Hey man, I need this cut a couple of times." In the other place I went, there's a $3 charge every time you cut. And he says, "No, as long as you buy it here, we'll cut it for you." I said, holy shit. All right. I need a 4-foot piece, a 3-foot piece, a 2-foot piece, and then the uprights.
7.3.
6-inch piece, 7-inch, 8-inch, 12-inch, 13-inch. This guy's cutting away. So I'm there every day. I'm doing 3 days of work, and I go back the second day. And at the end of the second day, this guy who I made friends with, his name is Don, good man, working there, construction 30 years, using a cane, using the machine well. He says, "You're going to kill me." I said, "Why am I going to kill you, Don?" He said, "Because I was just told that we can't use this machine for the brand of piping that you're buying. That the other company that sells the other two, this is their machine. And if we use their machine on pipe that they don't sell and something happens to the machine, we're liable." And I said, "Well, that's news to me." He says, "So how many more cuts you need?" I said, 2. He said, Let's get it. Let's take care of it right now." And he did it. Next day, I got to drive all the way to Holland, Michigan, an hour and 10 minutes away to go get pieces to finish this thing because they don't have it and they ran out.
Yep.
So it's a 3-hour drive to go, and I do that. I get there, and I say, "All right, now I've got my flanges and my upright. I got my flanges set. Now I know how long my pipe has to be. Until that flange is set,
Tell me about
you
it.
can't measure the distance to the rail.
So you can't. Unknown.
It's unknown because if it moves a 1/4 of an inch from where you marked it, it's going to change the angle."
This is all.
So I go.
Yeah.
And I'm a slave to my my middle class upbringing, where I can't stand waste. So 10-foot, 6-foot, 3-foot post. How do I do the math on this? And I realized that the very last one that I had, the very last railing at the very top, had a 5-inch variable in terms of how long it could be.
Huh.
So the variable I chose gave me, after it was cut, a piece of pipe exactly the right size to finish the job. So one cut, as luck would have it.
Fucking A.
So I go to the place. I go, "Hey," and I'm hoping, and so I know the old dude has told me this, and I'm thinking I got to get away with one more cut.
Right.
So I'm hoping that the young dude who cut, Justin, with curly hair, great helper, I'm hoping he's there, but I know it's too early for him. He works the afternoon shift. Or I'm hoping Don is there, but I don't know. And the guy I'm hoping it isn't, who told Don about the rule, he shows up when I ring the bell. And he says, "How can I help you?" And I
What's
said,
his name?
I need this pipe cut.
David.
I never knew his name.
Okay.
And he says, "We can't cut that pipe." And I said, "Well, why not?"
Not while you're working.
I've been coming here for 2 days. I've spent $600 on parts. I bid the project on an expectation from your staff that you would cut the pipe and it would be free. That's why I spent all my money here instead of going somewhere else. So you can't at the end of the project say you won't cut my pipe.
Cut my
And
pipe.
I know that there's no problem with the machine cutting the pipe because it's been done for 2 days. He said, I'm telling you, we can't do it. And I said, well, in that case, if that's your decision, I need to speak to the manager.
There's rules followers.
And he said, well, she's right up front. Go ask her. And I said, no, I think the manager will come here and talk to me. And he says, he's pissed now. And he says, well, if you yell loud enough, she might hear you calling. He says testy, right?
Yes, yeah.
And I said, well, that's just rude. He said, I'm not the one being rude. You're telling me how to do my job. I said, no, I'm not. I'm telling you the facts of life here. And I'm telling you I need to speak to your supervisor. I need you to go fetch her. And I don't think I said fetch, but it was certainly my attitude.
Sure.
And
she came down.
No. And so this guy comes.
Her name was Barbara.
This guy comes and he says, hey, can I help you? I said, well, yeah, you know why. You know what I want. I've got this project. And by the way, I'm looking at the sign above the machine that says you cut black iron and galvanized. Can you come here a second? And he said, yeah. And I said, you see what that label says about the pipe that I bought? It says this 1 1/4 galvanized pipe, S20. This is galvanized. You say galvanized. I was told you cut all my pipe for free. And now you're telling me when I have one more cut left to finish the project that I financed with you for $600. And he said, hey, man, he says, hey, man, I'm not trying to cause trouble here. And I said, there's no trouble. I'm telling you the facts. I need a decision. He said, I'm going to have to go get somebody else. And I said, higher up than you? He said, yep, I'm not going to make this decision. I'm not going to cut this on this machine and risk this. And I said, you do understand, of course, that your machine has no trouble cutting this, that instead it's a proximity issue and an ownership issue, that it's the kind of pipe that the guy who gives you this machine to use, and I explained it to him and he knew it.
Yeah.
And I said, but here's your problem. That's not what it says. That's not what you told me, and that's not what you've done. And he said, I'm going to go get somebody higher up. So in the meantime,
here comes Barbara.
The dude who said if you yell loud enough, he comes by. He says, I'm sorry. I'll try again to get the manager. And now he's like being friendlier, right? And these guys are all right. They don't like it that you go over their head. So finally, the guy shows up. He says, can I help you? I said, yeah, it's pretty simple. Your sign says you cut galvanized pipe. This sign says I bought galvanized pipe. You told me you'd cut all my types for the job. Therefore, the machine has got no problem. It's a problem with your ownership. What your sign should say is we only cut the products that are sold by this company. And instead, what you've done, what you've said, what you've written, what you posted is all wrong, and I'm a victim of that. He said, let me cut you your piece of pipe.
Just to shut you the fuck up.
One dude comes, the dude who come back the second time, who said, oh, it's above my head. He came back one time. I forgot to tell you this. He comes back one time. He says, so we call Gale's Hardware. They'll cut your pipe. I said, I'm not driving to Gale's Hardware to get my pipe cut. I didn't buy the pipe from Gale's Hardware. I bought it from you. I'm here now. I'm not leaving until my pipe is cut. And he says, I'll send somebody. And they cut my pipe.
It's like a Jewish guy asking for a circumcision, right?
I'm circumcised. And
cut my pipe.
What do you say?
No, you go to one temple and they won't cut your pipe. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Right. Okay.
So anyway, it was 40-degree weather, so it was balmy, 42, whatever, and I could work outside. And then I finished the job on time. I make $840 or whatever, $35 an hour. It's a great hourly wage when it's under the table. That
sure.
25% tax on $35 is like $50 an hour. So it's under the table.
The IRS.
It's $100,000 a year.
The IRS does not listen to this. So
whatever. This is all hypothetical. It's $100,000 a year hypothetically. If you can work 40 hours a week, which you
can't. Yeah.
Work 40 hours a week.
That's not too bad.
And it was so gratifying. They cut my pipe. I took it back. I had the final two pieces. I got it done. I tightened it all down and got my invoice and got paid. So today when I woke up, it said it was 31 degrees. And I see up above on the chart, it says feels like 19 degrees.
Huh.
So I go outside and the wind is wicked and blown from the lake, which is an hour from here. And it's so cold that it's the coldest day of winter.
So far.
I'm so glad I finished that job before today. Oh my God. I just hate working when it's super cold,
So
particularly with metal.
I have a question. The pipes are sealed on either side. Like
No, there's plugs.
plugs so that...
You pound the plug in with a rubber mallet so that they're sealed.
So when I asked
called
if they
a
were
cap.
sealed, and you said no, and then you
They're
said
not sealed. They don't come sealed. You have to seal them.
You're right, but as you left them, no. Like the reason I ask is that we had trouble with some like wasps and stuff
Yes,
getting into our.
that's exactly
pipes.
why
Not
you
really.
seal them. That's
Right.
why you seal everything.
Okay.
They love the wasp, as I would. Think about it. You want to be someplace safe and warm, so you crawl up a pipe and you go in far enough where you can build a big nest, right?
Yeah.
This is what I want. It's what we all want.
It's
It's what the Democrats want.
indeed. Yeah. So that was a fantastic story of dealing with pipes and cutting and
And there's you post a picture. I'm
pounding.
sure.
Yes,
You post a
I will.
picture.
I will blur the license plate of your client from the photo that you sent. And
I actually have a better picture, but you can
What-
shave it as easily as I can.
why would you? Yeah. Okay. So there's that.
So, have you done any homework? I bet you not.
So I have some news from my side of the pond. Remember how our sofas were supposed to arrive in
Yes,
November,
yes,
and we've been
yes.
just dying to get our fucking sofas?
Yes.
And they called me last week and said, "Hey, I'm the guy that's going to deliver your sofas. Let me know what time of day we can come by." And I said, literally any time of day. Like I live and work here. Whenever. He was like, "Oh, that's nice," because that like liberates their scheduling issues. And he said, "And how many days notice do I need to give you before we
And
deliver?"
you said no notice.
And I was like, "What do you mean days notice?" And he's like, so you can like clear out your existing sofas. And I was like, "Sir,
It's empty, man.
we have not had a sofa in so many months. Please, please, sir, bring us a sofa." And he was like, "Oh shit, you really have been living without sofas? I'm going to put you to the top of our list."
Oh.
And I was like, geez, sir, that's so amazing. Thank you. And he said, so we plan our routes and stuff on Monday. And this was last week. So he said, on Monday, we're going to call you and we're going to promise when the sofas are going to come. But you're at the top of our list. And I was like, "Oh, geez, thank you, sir." And then they called on Tuesday and said, "Yeah, it'll be Friday." So
Not bad. Not
we don't
bad.
have, but yeah. So the November sofas have turned into December sofas, but
Barely. But it'll be delivered on my birthday.
it'll be delivered
On
on
the 2nd.
yeah. So not quite on your birthday. So
Well, that's a nice birthday present for me. That you're
yeah,
happy.
it's a nice birthday present for you to
That
us.
you're happy.
And we, oh Lordy, are we looking forward to this?
I'll bet.
This is like, I understand. I've lived long enough to realize that looking back a year or two from now, it's going to be hard to remember this harrowing time that we spent without sofas, because it's just going to be like, the sofas were always there.
I think you're a bit spoiled. That's what I think.
So
I grew up on having sofas. I used to have to lay on pallets made out of wood.
well,
Some had nails sticking.
I wish
up.
we had.
I'd throw some straw on it and a wool blanket.
I wish we had pallets. Shit, we ain't got nothing. So that'll be lovely. So hopefully by this time next week, you will be slightly older, and I will have slightly more sofas.
Still pending.
So that's a big deal. And
Still
also,
pending.
we had a family life event happen just today.
Family like.
family life, a family event.
Oh, family life.
Yes.
I thought it was like family like it was sort of like a family, but
Nah.
not quite.
No. This morning I took my son into the doctor just to get a routine checkup, but we used the fact that he had time off from school in the morning to go to the doctor to take him to the bank and give him his first bank account at 9 years old. And he was very excited about that.
So he could be a criminal and get away with it?
Holy shit, they have so many hoops you have to jump through just to create a bank account. Like as if I'm going to take a child off the street and forge ID cards where his surname matches mine to create bank accounts where the max you can put in it is like $50,000 or something. And we're going to put like the idea that all those checks and balances were preventing money laundering is just ridiculous. But
Is what?
Yeah, ridiculous. So we had to, at one point we had to walk back home. Luckily the bank is like a block away. We had to walk back home to get an extra document that we had to take there so they could photocopy so that they had the actual full document of blah, 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 blah. And anyway, in the end we succeeded and he was able to deposit his 100 euros or whatever that he had accumulated from
a budding businessman and a potential criminal. You are bringing the boy up right. He's got his options.
Am I right? You got to know. You got to, yeah. And so he spent the rest of the day taking coins from his piggy bank and like filling those little things that you fill the coins with. To
the bank. Did he have a machine or did it by hand?
By hand, like God intended.
The banks have machines that do that for you.
Well,
you just pour the money into a funnel and it.
This one, like I asked, what should we do with this?
And they told you this
coins, and they were like, "Here, take these little plastic sleeves."
Really?
Yeah.
That's antique. Of course, you are in Europe.
Well, and I chose the bank. When I chose this bank, I specifically looked around at all the local banks, and I chose the one that had the best website, like the best internet presence.
And let me ask you a technical question.
Yes, you there.
Why are you slightly out of focus on my screen?
Well, you're slightly out of focus on my screen too. I think that's because the app that we're using to record this is dropping our bit rate. It's lowering the quality to send to each other such that each of us can locally record the best quality.
Because
then we put them both together.
It's crystal clear.
Yes. So
same with you then.
Exactly. I look amazing.
So what is this called? Zencaster?
They're not sponsoring this episode, but yes, Zencaster, like Buddha.
Right. So don't they have an option where you're full screen? Because you're awful small on the screen.
Oh, you're pretty big. Like what's making me small?
Well, you're 3/4 of the screen wide and 3/4 of the screen.
I accept having you as a wee part of the screen, but I don't know if there's a way to maximize that. I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, I'm looking at the recording options for me and for you at the bottom, and then I've got a whole column to the right of the screen.
Yeah, me too.
My little image, and then just nothing. It's like it seems like. And that's the thing about Zoom is that you can come in and loom large. And you're not out of focus.
You can zoom large. Yeah. The different applications to do this are pretty crap. And what's funny is that like I actually work at a company that makes software that's better than this.
That's hilarious. You're right. That's hilarious.
Hilarious. I'm laughing so hard. Yes. So I don't know. It's the state that we're in, man. Like whatever. Boy, I listened to a podcast today, interviewing a historian that like was an expert on World War I and World War II and the Cold War, and the interviewer was asking him about. So, you successfully predicted, COVID in January 2020, and you successfully predicted that, Russia would invade Ukraine earlier this year. no one could have predicted that Ukraine would not just fold and would actually fucking fight back and change history. But the historian was asked, what do you see as happening soon in the future, and he talked about how well, clearly Taiwan is going to be like China needs Taiwan, because that's like in the same way that Taiwan is sort of like the Cuba in the Cuba Missile Crisis, where it's an island near one of the protagonists, but it's totally different. It would be as if like Cuba was producing all of the oil that we all needed back then, because Taiwan is producing all of the microchips that like power all of everything that we do, and that within 2 years is going to get super hairy, and also just like whatever happens with Ukraine. And anyway, it was a super sobering discussion, and I was thinking, damn, I might need to like take all my retirement savings out and put it into gold or something for like 10 years, because shit's about to go down. But I don't know. It was kind of scary.
Yeah.
We'll see what really happens. But and if, according to this guy, if China wants to move on Taiwan, they need to do that when Biden is still in power, because Biden's sort of a
less militaristic than a potential.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of backbone when it comes to these things, and
so
whereas Trump would, Trump also doesn't want like a hot military war. He just wants a trade war where he can just like fuck with the sanctions and then come in and make a deal. But anyway.
Well, Trump hurt himself pretty bad. He had dinner with a white nationalist named Nick Fuentes.
But how does that hurt him, though?
Well, it hurts him because he's got a base which is unshakable, and the politics of his base is just pretty simple. It's all the bad shit, and it includes Nick Fuentes as part of his base. His 35% includes racists and bigots, people who otherwise hadn't voted before, trailer trash, dumbass motherfuckers, and a bunch of people that just are interested in money. Period. They don't care about all the other stuff. Nick Fuentes, fuck, who cares? You making me money with your policies? I love you. Period. And so what it hurts him is that there is a Republican Party, and the Republican Party, which he is arguably the top dog in, but about to topple, many think. If he doesn't have them, then his path to political victory is cumbersome and expensive and difficult, because he's got opposition, he's got all sorts of problems. People who have a brain in their head, who are not MAGA loyalists, but just besot with him,
right?
Republicans who are truly conservative by nature, but will kiss his ass no matter what. When he sits with Nick Fuentes, they say, you know what? I can't go with that. This is wrong. Yeah, that means that within the party politics, not the plural, not the populist electorate, he suffers, and that apparatus is essential to win a nomination. Essential. You cannot win a nomination in the Republican Party without, at some point, the tacit 100% involvement of the Republican Party once the primary is over.
Okay, but
that's how it hurts.
But it's like, how can you get upset with Trump being Trump? Like he's what has he done that has been too outrageous? Like,
there's nothing different about him doing this with Nick Fuentes and him saying during the Charlottesville terror Nazi alt-right marches that ended up with people dead, or there were good people there,
or the grabber by the pussy, or the like, all of these.
That's very different. But you're right. It's like, I can stand on Fifth Street and kill a man and get away with it. So far,
right?
That's right. It won't stand. It won't stand. But he will be indicted. He will be indicted. He will be convicted. He will get prison time. He could get pardoned.
Okay,
he could get pardoned by Joe Biden.
So this Nick Fuentes thing, whoever he is,
with him and Ye.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, I
rap
know.
artist formerly known as fucking Ken Ye. Fuck him.
Yeah.
Ken Ye
So
was fucking lunatic.
again, this tastes to me just like the thing to talk about Trump for the week that we've had since forever. And every time it's like, how could he have done this more outrageous thing? Let's talk more about him. And then we do, and then it's like it repeats again. Like next week is going to be a more outrageous thing, and it just keeps escalating and escalating. But it's like, are you familiar with there's this audio illusion that where you can play a sound that sounds like it's constantly rising, and like it feels like it's rising and rising and rising, and then you keep listening and it's still rising and rising, but like it's just
It can't
illusion.
always be rising.
Right, exactly. It's an illusion, but it's that exactly that. Whatever that's called, I'm going to put that in the show notes, and I will send Dennis the link so he can actually know what that is.
You want to look at the show notes.
But
you obviously
that's what Trump is.
You've obviously had. There was something I wanted to talk to you about.
I have not watched any television aside from the World Cup.
Quite the victory yesterday, U.S. versus Iran.
Yes,
I didn't see any of it, I have to admit, but I'm
it was pretty touch and go there at the end. Like they were coming really close to scoring.
Who's the American? The Polachek? That can't be right.
It's something like that. I can't pronounce.
But he went in the hospital. He went to hospital afterwards. He had an injury.
He took that fucking ball into the goal with his own body, and he was looking not so good after that.
Abdominal injury.
Yeah, I mean he got pummeled.
I'll have to look it up. Hey, you know what I'm watching tonight? I'm watching the interview with Howard Stern and interviewing Bruce Springsteen. It's a special, HBO special.
Okay.
And there's Bruce Springsteen with a guitar next to him at a piano. And when Howard Stern asks him about certain things that happened in his life, he shows you by playing it. I can't wait. But yeah. I wanted to tell you, but I wanted to talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But you may have an anecdote at the ready, for all I know, before I talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
No, I was just going to say that Howard is one of these people that is not unlike Trump. He's a total dick that you can't stop paying attention to. Like he's so entertaining.
I think he's less of a dick now than he was.
Oh, for sure, he is less now. But also, over this time, he's honed his interviewing skills and his ability, and he obviously has this status where he can interview anyone that he wants.
Yeah.
And
well, that's not exactly true. But the fact that he got Bruce Springsteen makes your point. It's not anybody that he wants.
He could have. Who couldn't he? He could have Hillary on if he wanted to, or.
I don't know if she would do it.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Her PR people would have a debate about it, but I don't know. He's such a god in the interview Clinton space. Well, of course, exactly. Like that's how I was trying to come up with like the most extreme.
I could see her, asking her sexual oriented questions just to
exactly
be a dick.
Right, exactly. I
haven't heard him do that. He's become more respectable once he got that superstar freaking contract on
Sirius
24-hour radio. Sirius, what is it called?
Sirius. He has to be more serious on Sirius.
Yes, that's it. So anyway, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I tune in, and Judas Priest there that I missed, but what I caught was a Carly Simon, just fabulous session, and then Eurythmics, which was one of the best segments on Rock and Roll Hall of Fame I have ever seen. They and the kind of documentary thing that they did for a few minutes after they were nominated shows them in their most absolute iconic moments and bizarre stuff that they did, and just outlandish and such fabulous music and such a different variation of rock and roll and some of their stuff, Sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree? Traveled, right? On and on. Just wonderful. But then the controversy that I read about is that Dolly Parton is nominated in the Hall of Fame. She originally said, I don't think that I've earned this. I do, gratefully decline. And, I can only imagine all hell broke loose.
She's super fucking humble.
Well, true. And it was that from that humbleness. But when she gets up there and after Pink introduces her in a heartfelt thing, she didn't make the case at all, or nor did she try, that Dolly Parton was somehow rock and roll. She said she's the most, fabulous and wonderful storyteller of our time, which, yeah, arguably, and that she's had 100 top, hits. Oh, okay, that's good. Blah, 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 blah. But as far as the rock and roll, it's like, this is country, and this is what she knew. So Dolly Parton says, and I originally, declined this, and I didn't realize, because I didn't feel like I'd earned it. And then I learned, of course, that it's so much more than that. And I'm just grateful to be here and to earn it. I wrote a rock and roll song that I'll play for you in a minute. And thank you. And it was a little awkward for her. She still didn't quite get it, nor did I in any way. Now, they also put in Eminem. And someone would say, well, how is rap and Eminem rock and roll? I said, what, are you kidding me? It's all from the same place. It's all from the same place. Dylan was doing rap without the backbeat. I mean, syncopation. And it's all in the same genre to me. But country, no. Dolly Parton, no. So speed up to the story. We got nothing but time.
Please.
Is we find two women singers, including Pink and what the hell's her name? We'll have to figure it out. But they did two of her country tunes. One of them was a coat of many colors, which isn't rock and roll, but a beautiful ballad. And then they did 9 to 5 with Zac Brown from the Zac Brown Band singing along with Pink. And it didn't seem to work all that well with a man singing it. I don't know I don't know. But then she came out dressed as Dolly Parton would dress. But for rock and roll, she's all clad in black leather and red rhinestones. It's black leather and shiny shit. And from the knees down, there's no leather. There's black lace, just black leather stiletto heels. And she has a guitar that is also black and white and rimmed with red rhinestones, just like her costume.
Yep.
She comes out and she repeats this thing that she said, well, when I got nominated, I said I could do rock and roll. And then she strummed her guitar with this heavy metal strum. And I thought, Dolly's going to do it.
I think I know where we're going with this.
And then
Jolene.
No. Then what happens is she sets the backbeat from that heavy opening guitar thing, which apparently was random, and the background is and the music is I was born to rock and roll, I always used to rock and roll, and it was a country tune about rock and roll, but It was not rock and roll. And I thought,
I love it.
That what opening with the guitar, you should have collaborated with Judas Priest
or something. Yeah.
And I will tell you why I know that would work is because after she got done with this rock and roll song, which was entertaining, but it wasn't rock and roll really, I guess, or bad rock and roll, is that they do Jolene, and it closes the ceremony. And everybody who got nominated comes up. And it's all Jolene. And it's Jolene, 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 Jolene. There's no rock and roll in it. But who is doing one of the duets with her is the lead singer from Judas Priest, who's taken off his leather jacket and his leather cap, and he's still mostly in leather. And you understand the nature of the interaction on stage with maybe one rehearsal prior to it, whatever, and then you're live, is that he approached her and ended up doing a moment of a duet with her. And it was pretty extraordinary. But it only goes, to my mind, it's like, that's who you should have collaborated with their guitar player, for you to come out and do that thing that you did and do just that. Instead of this, she's country through and through. So anyway,
she's one of the. There was this amazing podcast series about her a couple years ago that explored how in our current nation that is totally divided. You've got your blue states and your red states, and
Everyone loves her.
And we all watch different television shows, and everyone fucking adores Dolly Parton. Like
let me tell you this: the cynical part of me, which may have gone into her,
because she never says anything political. Like she's chosen to walk that line and be like, I won't comment on abortion or whatever.
It's up to people to do what people want to do.
Yeah.
But the cynical part of me realized that what the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just did was they brought in some odd, I don't know, how many people are Dolly Parton fans? 25 million? Can you Google that? Let's each make a guess. How many fans does Dolly Parton have? My guess is 250 million. What's yours?
250 million? I'm going to go higher at 400.
Okay.
It's not like it's a thing that you could just Google. How many fans does someone have? Because otherwise, I think I'd be doing that all day long. Who knows? We don't know.
What?
What sort of page lists how many fans a particular person has? I can put in your name.
I just can't believe you just can't ask Google and it'll just tell you.
How many Dolly Parton fans are there? How many are there? Let's see. Hold on. First, I have to identify which images contain trackers. Dolly Parton popularity and fame. There's a site that says it's all blurry because I guess they want me to pay more money. Dolly Parton fans on Facebook. We can look at how many people are in that group. But that's only 56,000. That's low. Yeah, those are the people that like care to follow her on Facebook. So, sure, I think you're okay with your guess. I have, speaking of rock and roll fame news, you may not have heard yet because it just came out. Christine McVie from Fleetwood Mac has died.
Oh, no kidding.
79.
See if somebody from Fleetwood Mac was inducted in the Hall of Fame this week. There was a woman there with gray hair with a guy, but I didn't know who it was. She got inducted. I missed it all. Nikki said that's the other woman singer from Fleetwood Mac, not
No, I'm seeing we got Carly Simon. I'm looking at the article about the inductees. There's a list: Judas Priest, Harry Belafonte, Elizabeth Cotton. Yeah, nobody from Fleetwood Mac. Fleetwood Mac's probably already in the Hall of Fame.
I don't know. It was a duet. I don't know who it was.
Pat Benatar and Neil. No.
Pat Benatar.
Pat Benatar.
That's who it was. In a recent picture, she got all gray hair. I bet you that was her, and I missed it. Yeah. Okay. That came to mind, but I'm not used to seeing.
She's the incredible age of 69. So
the time of balance.
Yeah, she's that old.
So here's a question for you.
4-time Grammy winner.
There's a song from the movie with Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston called "The Bodyguard."
Yep.
And the theme of the movie is a song.
Yep. Dolly wrote it about her manager.
Oh, I don't know if she wrote it about her manager.
She did.
Really?
This is all part of this intricate podcast about.
I will always love you.
I mean, if this is about your manager of this podcast, then continue.
I'll always love you. So that song
that made Dolly more money than anything else. Yeah,
worldwide record of all time.
Yep, that made Dolly more money than the rest of her music, I think.
Did you realize that our Bezos gave her $100 million? Our
Bezos
last month to spend as she saw fit. Do you know this news?
Our Bezos.
Jeff Bezos gave Dolly Parton $100 million and said, "Spend it in any way you want." Following up on two prior $100 million awards from Jeff Bezos. One went to Van Jones, who received $100 million to do with what he wants.
You didn't receive your reward?
I got $1.
I've been trying to figure out how to spend mine, but
Can't even buy a stamp.
it's been hard.
Hey, man, it's been great. I gotta go. I'll see you
I love you. See you next week.
next week. Oh, I will always love you. I'll always love you. I'll always love you.
And cut. Okay, that's it for episode number 168. You can find the show notes and photos of Dennis's lovely pipe installation at happyhour.fm/168. Also some links in there to articles about Dolly Parton and fun stuff like that. You can support the show at patreon.com/happyhour. See you next week.